Gotta say, happy Sunday to everybody watching. My name is Scott Mendenhall. A little energetic. If you're sipping on your coffee, you might have just jerked a little bit because I just shouted at you. We're so stoked to have you here. If you're coming for our one wheel race video, what a moment in our 24-hour challenge where we are trying to get to all 24 lakes. We're trying to get to 5 lakes in 24 hours. Sorry about that. Lily, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Just answering in the chat. Yes, there was sand everywhere after that. Just the price that you pay to help a friend, right?
Yeah.
It just happens.
There's sand everywhere. After this race, or after where we see need, meet a need, and get a car unstuck, and if you haven't seen that, we might replay that here in a bit. The sand is everywhere in that RV. We sweep it out occasionally, but it was a hot mess. Especially when we start doing races where you're coming straight out of the water, right onto sand, onto your one wheels. It was what it was. I do gotta say, as I watched this and I know where we're at in this, I get stressed on going, holy cow, we're 16 hours left.
We got a lot to do.
We only have one lake done. Right, Lil?
Yeah, one lake done. We're on our way to the next. Like, I remember thinking, we have done an extreme amount of one-wheel races. I know this is supposed to be a one-wheel theme thing, but we need to get to every lake. Like, I just was getting so anxious.
Yeah, there were times where we would all lose our, like, at different points, each one of us felt the tension. Most of the time, it was only one of us at different points. Be like, okay, we gotta go. And then the others are like, no, I'd like to get some food. Let me get a selfie by this great lake. And
that would be you. That would be you.
What, me wanting to get the selfie?
Maybe not the selfie, but the food and, like, yeah. I was always like, we gotta go, we gotta move.
That's because you felt all responsible for starting us 30 minutes late in the morning with your alarm, if you remember.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I know, it's forgivable. Hey, we do want to give a little props to Miss Lily. She's hiding the old guns today, but she did a CrossFit competition this weekend with 2 of her friends. And Lily, tell us what place you came.
We got first.
What?
Yay!
Out of 2?
I haven't counted. I want to say like 12 or 13.
Okay,
teams.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's more than 2, so
yeah.
you could have gotten not on the podium, but well done. We're amongst a winner.
Yay!
That's right, Lily. I'm not giving you my name though, the winner.
No, that's okay.
But
that's
you did
okay.
it. You did it. Well done.
Thank you.
You're not gonna see her walk around, but today she's walking like she's in grandma mode today. She's like, can't bend at her hips. It's just the price you pay to play.
You'd think that today we were talking about the price you pay for certain things in life, but we're not. It's come up. Maybe it'll tie in at some point.
Maybe. We are talking about integrity today. So this will be the beginning to a couple weeks on this topic. Today is just like the setup, just to get us all like, because I mean, what is integrity? Like, there's so many different answers that people would answer to integrity. So we got to get everybody on the same page, and then we'll talk about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm stoked on this because I just think this is one of the big issues we got rolling around in the world right now is the lack of integrity. But before we get to that, we got to do a lot of things. First, we want to say hello to a few people in the chat. Lily's going to say good morning to a lot of you that are in the chat. Lily, will you let us know who's in the chat this morning?
Yes, good morning to Michael, Ryan, Travis, Dan's wife, Jen, your mom, Mary, Scott. What a great mom. She's always cheering you on. And a few others. Good morning. We're glad you guys are here with us.
My mom is in there.
Myself and you as well.
And my mom, it's her birthday today.
Happy birthday, Mary!
She's turning 29 today. It's amazing. It's so good. Mom, happy birthday. Thanks for being my mom. Everybody in the chat, you might not know her, but her name is Mary Mendenhall. Would you give her some love today?
Woo!
Give her a happy birthday. She doesn't get to, like, actually, this is as much as she's going to see me today because she lives states away from us. But my mom, happy birthday. This is like one of the first times I ever get to like give a shout out to you on your birthday. So I'm pretty stoked you're in the chat room with us, Mom. I'm trying to think of a great story to tell about you, but look at the time, we gotta go. No, there's a lot of good stories about my mom. Love you, Mom. Thanks for being my mom. You are the kindest and gentlest woman I know. And so, thanks. Hopefully people are, I see like clapping and confetti. If my mom tries to reply to you with emojis, who knows what she's gonna press. That's what you love about moms. It's just always surprising. Okay, So happy birthday, Mom. I think it's your birthday today, right? That's right, Mom?
I think you said it was today.
Yeah, just roll with it, Mom. If it's not, I think it is. If I've missed it, boy, I've done that before.
That's
Lil,
all right.
You ever missed your mom's birthday before or dad's?
I think so. Well, my mom's birthday is on the 1st of February, and I always get confused if it's like the first or the second day. But I've since remembered. But there was a time where I was like, which day is it? So I called my twin brother. We sorted it out.
Yeah, so I got to say that I made it a lot. I think you're 26, right? 25.
Me?
28?
I'm 26.
28.
Why are we
Okay.
talking about my age now?
Yeah, you're 28, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, only just a couple years away from your mom. So
Yeah, I
I
know,
could
it's
be
amazing.
your father.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the first time I missed my mom's birthday, my mom would have to confirm this, but I think I was much older than you. So I just say, I don't know what I'm actually saying.
It's confirmed it's your mom's birthday. She says, thanks, Scott. Love you.
Oh.
Aw, so
Hugs
sweet.
and kisses, Mom. Hugs and kisses. Okay, enough of the sappy stuff. Let's get on with it. Hey, if you're brand new around here, we love to encourage you, give you a moment to reflect. If you saw how Dan jumped in today, he's like, good morning, church fam. This is Church Online. And we choose to do it this way where we're speaking straight to you right where you are at home. This is made and created for you. With you in mind. We sit around, not literally just sit around all week and put it on our thumbs, but we think about how can we engage you, make it fun for you, make it easy for you to find church, a first-time guest to find church online. That's why we start with a one-wheel race, invite people over here today. It's so that we might be able to build relationships with you and be here for you every week. I don't know how many, we should look next week, Lil, for next week, and say how many weeks we have consistently been here. Like, we've been here for over a year every Sunday, and we will continue to be here. So if you're first time guest, what we want to do is create some time for you to pause and reflect in your week. Ask the question, well, who is Jesus? And when you answer that question, it should kind of help you process on how you should behave and maybe where your integrity comes from and all those things. Who is Jesus? What does he mean to you? And maybe you know the answer and you want to take a moment and reflect on giving worth and credit to Jesus for being our Messiah. That's what's going to happen over this next moment. We've got a great video for you guys for what we call a worship video. This is where we're just going to play a song that you can hum along, sing along, pause, put headphones in, whatever you need to do just to give worth to God. If you're not into that, that's okay. Don't log off. Hang around because we're going to go right out of this and talk about integrity today, which we're really stoked on this. And then if you're local in Minnesota, we're pretty stoked at AMC Movie Theater in Maple Grove. We're doing our first baptism service in this location today. And so hopefully the tank's being filled. Side note, that tank would be a pig trough that we have painted black to make it look not so pig trough-ish. But that's happening today, so we're stoked to get over there. But check out this great video. I think it's called God's Great Dance Floor, Lil. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. That's the song today. It's a good one. You guys are going to love it.
You're going to look at that. She's smiling. She's like, you're going to love this. So it sounds like it's going to be a good one. So check this out. We'll be right back after this. Enjoy.
God's great dance floor. Welcome to the floor. Welcome to the future. Yeah. Coming back. I'm coming back to the
This is all I can bring. Yeah, yeah. Hey,
You'll never stop loving us, no matter how far we run. You'll never give up on us. All of heaven shout, let the future begin.
oh, I feel alive.
Feel alive.
I come alive.
I come alive
I am alive.
on God's great dance floor.
I feel alive.
I feel alive.
I come alive.
I come alive
I am alive.
on God's great dance floor. On God's great dance floor. On God's great dance floor. No matter what the circumstance, I'll come alive on God's great dance floor. No matter what the circumstance, come on, sing. I come alive on God's great dance floor. I feel alive. I come alive. I am alive on God's great dance floor. I feel alive. I come alive. I am alive on God's great dance floor.
Yeah.
Hey, on God's great dance floor.
Everybody on your feet. Yeah. La 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 la. La 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 la. Hey. I got this joy, 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 joy. Joy down in my heart.
Down in
I
my
got this joy, 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 joy.
joy, down in my heart. I've got this joy, 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 joy down in my heart. I've got this joy, 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 joy down in my heart. This is the future. Yeah. So let
I hope you love that song as much as we do in here. I believe there's a full band version of that
Oh,
song
yeah,
that you
there
need to
is.
check out. It sounds amazing with those two artists, but the full band one, right, Lil, is
Yeah,
like
it's good.
you want to get up and dance.
It's good.
Can
It's
you
good
give us
both ways.
who sings the full band?
I can
band
find out
version?
because that's why I got my iPad here.
She's gonna look.
I
at
bet we got lots of different versions of it, but I will give you my.
who's the actual artist of it.
I don't.
You gotta
let's
look
see.
all this
Yeah.
up. Okay, you look it up, you let us know. But our hope's always every week in those moments where we play a song is to give you a chance to reflect, not to flip the bacon or any of those things. We do want to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed to this channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button. It allows you to know when we're going live and different things of that nature so you don't miss anything on this channel where we can inspire you and encourage you and really speak into what's happening into culture. That's why we're talking about integrity. What does the authors of the Bible have to say about integrity? Do you have integrity? How do you get integrity? How do you keep integrity? All those things we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. This is the setup. Lily, do we have the artist that you would tell
Yes.
us who we should be?
So I believe Chris Tomlin came out with the song, but you need to check out Chris Tomlin and Passion doing it live together. Check that out. God's Great Dance Floor. It's a good song.
And Dan was way faster than you.
Ah.
I saw in the chat there that Dan, on fire. On fire. If you don't follow Dan on Instagram as well, he always posts great, and I chuckle because they are great. You just don't know what you're going to get with Dan. He posted one the other day. I think it was just I saw his feet. And then his yard, and he's like, I love watching my yard wake up, or nature to wake up for the first time in the day. It's so true. It's amazing. Today is duck season. Yesterday kicked off duck season here in Minnesota, and if you're around, if you hear shots in the background outside the studio, it's because people are shooting ducks. I was awoken today at 6:35 because I was 30 minutes before sunrise, and it was just bang, 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 bang. Craziness.
Wow.
It was wild.
Definitely didn't hear that out my window, but I live in a city, so.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. Could be probably mean much different than today. People just getting waterfowl to eat.
True.
Makes it exciting. It really does. Okay, that said, we're jumping into the conversation of integrity. I'm going to fire away questions to Lily, which she's not planned for, and we try to keep it raw like that. Some of you might be asking, where's Joey today? Joey is watching his beloved little daughter. She's under a year, and
Yes.
his wife has, I was going to say flown the coop, but that might mean so many different things.
What?
She went out with some friends on a trip. She's not actually flown the coop. So if your internet just like froze, what? No, he'll be back. He's just watching. He was in the chat. I don't know if he's there anymore. Okay. But we like to keep it raw for Joey and Lily when they're in here so that it's just like you. When I ask what integrity is, you're going to go, what is integrity? What do I think integrity is? And so, Lily, your opinion, what is integrity? Go. No looking. Did you already look it up?
I pulled up my notes on integrity.
Wait, your notes? Because you...
I've taught on this before. I got notes. But it's probably going to be different than Scott's in ways. But I would say integrity is being the same person everywhere you go. That is having integrity. No one is surprised by your actions because they line up with your words.
Okay, then. I think that's where most people would say integrity is. Then answer me this, Lily. What is character? Not character like acting. What is character then? If your definition for integrity is what you are like when no one else is around, what is character?
I do think they are similar. I think integrity can lead into spaces like what you're willing to lie about or hide or whatever. But character is similar, but I would say, what do you do when no one's looking? And they are similar. It's like, well, you could call that integrity.
So integrity is what you are like when no one else is around, and character is what you do when no one is looking.
I said integrity. Are you the same everywhere you go? Are you the same person? Are you consistent? But you
Okay.
could. I'm really excited then to hear your definition of integrity because you could say both my definitions match up with both words. So let's hear it.
Will you go to the dictionary? I don't really, whatever dictionary you want to go to, and look up the word character. I looked it up the other day. It's got several different meanings, but the first meaning is what we want to hone on. The second definition of character is someone acting in a play or a movie. They're playing a character, but the character we're speaking of is a quality that is about you, what you possess, okay? And I don't want to give an answer of what I think it is quite yet. I want to give the definition from Webster or whatever online dictionary Lily's got there. You got it for us, Lil?
Well, I have dictionary.com.
Yep. And character is?
I don't know this word, aggregate of features and traits that form the individual nature of some person or a thing, one such feature or trait, characteristics, moral or ethical quality.
So moral, so can we just sum it up to a moral quality then?
Sure.
Is that right? Is there a better way of summing it up, Lil?
We have here the group of qualities that make a person, group, or thing different from others.
Okay. Write in the chat what you think integrity and character are. And again, we're not going to call you on and go, oh, you're way off. Well, we might. No. But this is setting up the platform of what is the difference of integrity and character. And here's what I do know. I think integrity is something that you ought to do, like it's an ought to. Sometimes you don't even know it's an ought to. It's just somehow programmed in you. Character is something that you can really, really develop. And we're going to answer over the next few weeks, can you develop integrity? Or if you don't have integrity, you're just out of luck. Is there something you can do to gain integrity? But character is, Lily, in my opinion, I do think your definition for integrity and character being mashed together would be character is who you are when no one else is around or looking. And that person travels with you, that you are the same every place you go. That's good character. Integrity, this is how I wrote it in my notes as integrity. Okay, this is the long explanation, and then I'll shorten it down. Integrity is the resolve and the courage to do the right thing and the noble thing just because it's the right and noble thing. When it benefits you, and when you do it, it costs you. So it's doing the right and noble thing when it's gonna cost you, or if it benefits you. It's not, oh, I'm only gonna do the right thing if it doesn't cost me. If it costs me, I'm going to still do the right thing and the noble thing. That is integrity. Integrity is the resolve and the courage to do the right and noble thing just because it's the right and noble thing. When it benefits you and when it costs you. Now think about it. When was the last time you did something inside integrity that cost you? Maybe it was a job promotion that you decided I'm not going to put someone down to get the promotion because that would be a trumping of my integrity. I really like the short version, integrity, doing what you ought to even when it costs you. That's like hopefully the sticky version that you can teach your kids. Integrity, doing what you ought to even when it costs you. Now, do you like that one, Lil? Do you want to poke some holes into it? What's your thoughts on it?
I like it. I like what some of these people are putting in the chat, too. Jen says, when my kids were little, I'd tell them integrity is doing the right thing when you could get away with doing the wrong thing.
And
That's
how she defined
That's
integrity.
how she defined it to her kids when they were growing up.
Can you say that one more time?
It
What'd she say?
is doing the right thing when you could get away with doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So knowing you could get away with doing what was wrong, you choose to make the right choice anyways. I like that.
Integrity. Boy, if you look at the news and yes, you have the news, but go to social media and in all different capacities, and it seems like integrity is something of the past. But maybe it's not. Maybe there's still integrity. It's just what people have it grounded into the issue. That integrity, if it's not plugged into something, if it's not tethered to something, if it's not anchored to something, then it's really fluid. And I think that's some of the issue with integrity these days is there's not a lot of integrity that we're seeing in the public eye that's plugged into or anchored to things, and so it just changes. So it's like, I can't make heads or tails of what is the right thing or the noble thing anymore today because it keeps moving. It's a moving target. But in reality, that's not the truth of integrity. Integrity is always doing the right and noble thing even when it costs you or it benefits you. It's doing the right thing. You're faced with this and I'm faced with this probably in a 24-hour deal. When you look back at the race for us, the 24-hour challenge, it required integrity to follow through on what we did. To not go, oh my gosh, we've only done one lake in like, what is that, 5 hours we've gone, right, Lil? 5 hours,
yeah.
one lake.
It was a lot of time.
It's 16
and
hours or
5
less.
weeks to go.
Right? So
Yeah.
So we're if there's 24 hours in a day, we're horrible at math here, and there's 16 hours left, we're in big trouble. Right, Lil? If you're
Yeah,
doing the
because
math?
if we consistently had 5 hours per lake and there's 5 lakes, well, that would mean we needed 25 hours to finish, and we only had 24.
And so our
Sketchy.
integrity, is on the line. Do we move things? Do we change the clock? Do we say we kind of brushed by the lake
Yeah.
and we rode by in the RV? Like, you'll have to watch to see
I
if
mean,
our
we
integrity...
could change the whole thing in the editing.
Yeah, we could edit it different. Even that race, we could have chosen not to put in the race where we get a little bit of confrontation going on with those men that were on scooters. We could have edited that out. But we put it all in there for integrity reasons of like you get to see one, the whole story. Two, that we're not trying to manipulate a story. We're trying to just document life as it happens and put it in front of you. There's no bleeping machines needing to be used because our integrity is there. Like, we're not using words that we have to bleep out, like, so that we're putting in front of the camera something that we are not. As we travel, we meet some great families that follow us on our channel and stuff. And I think the greatest comment I heard inside the 24-hour challenge is, you guys are exactly like you are on the camera. And it's true. What you see is who we are. Now, we might have moments where we'll sit down and watch football and not like screaming and things like that. But for the most part, what you see is what you get. Is that same of you and those that you do life with. the definition we're going with integrity, doing what you ought to even when it costs you. When it costs you at work, at home, and at school. Right? Think about this. Go back to the summer, the condo in Florida down by Miami Beach that collapsed. Lil, do you remember that just a couple months ago?
Yes, the building? That collapsed.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember.
The condo or the apartment building that collapsed, right?
Yep, I remember.
And it was a tragic event. Like, life was lost, and then, there are investigators coming in, what happened and why did it collapse? And what you started hearing in the news was a term of structural integrity. Like, I don't know if you knew that word or that phrase. Lily, had you ever heard that phrase before this event in Florida?
No, I haven't, and I thought this next part is very interesting.
Okay, and that's because Lily, she looks at my notes. She helps put things together. But structural integrity is what the news started to begin to say, hey, this is why it collapsed, is because there was an issue with the integrity of the structure. In the definition of structural integrity, the ability of a structure to withstand its intended load without failing due to fracture or fatigue. It's intended load, it's supposed to hold or withhold or stand or hold up. That is what structural integrity is. The other thing we learned inside the Florida apartment complex in structural integrity is that the damage isn't isolated to the beam that was cracked or weak. It wasn't isolated to that. There was damage in a colossal way all around it, that the weight was transferred to the other parts of the structure. We learned that when a load-bearing structure fails, the load is transferred to and potentially overload surrounding supported structures. And what did you see in the news? Then the place just, because the next beam can't hold the weight of what it's already holding and what that other beam should hold. And so now all of a sudden, you just see this impact in other places. The failure of one part impacts the failure of others. Some of you already know where I'm going, right? A failure of personal integrity adds stress to the persons around us. Let that one set in. When you don't act inside of integrity, the stress of that lack of integrity affects those around you. Like, I will use a story that breaks my heart to share, because as a youth pastor for 17 years, that meant I led middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it was one of the most fun jobs to do. It was really cool to see young people be inspired to make a change in the world. It's really cool now to watch as they graduate from high school to college and go off to their careers and start families, to see what they're doing. A lot of you might know this. Lily's one of our former students in Florida. She came in her sophomore year, I think, and she really has never left. And it's been really one of those cool things to not only have to, but get to be in her life today and see what God's doing with her. It puts a smile on Holly's in my face. But as equally, there are moments as a youth pastor that happen that just break your heart. And you see what we're talking about today, when there is a failure of integrity, how it impacts people around you. When parents don't behave with integrity, either they're addicted to a substance or their marriage is crumbling and they don't choose to fix it. And I hear it all the time from parents. It's not impacting our children. They have no idea. We're pretending like we're getting along when we're around. They never hear us fight. Can I just tell you, that's not true? It impacts them. They're aware of it. They can pick up on it. They can pick up the changes, the looks that you give, or the statements you say. They're smart. And you want to argue, push back on the thought. No. A failure of personal integrity does not impact you. You want to push back on that. Think about young people that were straight A students, and then there's problem at home, integrity is questioned or falls apart, and that A student becomes a D student. And they no longer sit in the front row, they go to the back row. And then they're not involved anymore. And you just watch this downward spiral. And when you really search and figure out what's going on, it was a breach of integrity at home that impacted this student that just derailed everything. I remember doing a service of about 1,500 students is in the student building, and a dad came flying into the building, shouting in the middle of like a moment like this where we're sharing a thought of the day, and he's screaming for his daughter. I won't use her name, but he's just shouting, "Hey, where are you?" Just losing his mind. And we were big enough with 1,500 students to have some undercover police there just for moments like this. And this dad just shouting, making a scene. And you can see the daughter. Embarrassed, red face, slumping down. I can't believe my dad is doing this. It's a breach of integrity for him. That it is changed a lot of things for her, and she began to behave differently over the next few weeks. She ended up not coming back for a season, and when she came back to student ministry, totally different young person. Because the pressure of the breach of integrity was placed on her shoulder. She had to explain her dad's actions. She had to explain why her mom and dad were not together. And it just began, the weight of the lack of integrity there began to crush her in her spirit. Now, I'm very glad to say that she did turn a corner, and she found a place to put her weight of her burdens, and that was through a relationship with Jesus that she began to realize, I can't hold this. I need to put it on Jesus. And I know a lot of you like, that's just so good Christian phrase. That's so good. I'm going to ask Lily to explain that. What does it mean when somebody's going to take their burdens to Jesus? Like, are we packing up a box and we're like going to find Jesus where he was in a tomb in Israel and placing it there, Lil? What does it mean to take our burdens to Jesus?
Well, we talked a little bit about it last week, and if you missed it, you can always go back and find this dream from a week ago. But Jesus says, give me your burdens and I'll give you mine, because my burden is light to carry and yours are heavy. He knows that. So he's saying when we give him our burdens, we're saying, Jesus, I release this to you. I give this to you. I lay this down at your feet. I've even pictured myself doing that, taking maybe putting it into a imaginary box in my mind, closing the lid and putting it at his feet and saying, I'm giving this to you to carry because it's too much for me. And then when I start to find myself stressed about it in the middle of the day or whatever it is, I remember I already gave this to Jesus. I already gave him my burdens. He is taking care of it.
Thanks, Lil. That's a great explanation. So if you are carrying the burden of because of the load of lack of integrity in someone's life around you, your mom and dad, your coworker, the list can go on, and you're just like, I can't handle this. It's time to put it at Jesus' feet. And then ask this question, Jesus, what do you want me to do with this? Like, am I to, if it's a work-related thing, am I to speak up and be the voice of change? Or am I to walk away? Like, it's not a one-size-fits-all in what you do when there's a breach in integrity. Remember, when there's a lack of integrity, the load is always transferred. It just is. There's no way around it. Especially those that are you in your life, maybe you have a breach in integrity. You're like, that's not true. It can't be true. Because we wouldn't want to put the pressure on the next man or woman standing behind us. We're like, no, but it is true. When there is not integrity being upheld or actions with it, the load is always transferred. Always transferred. Go back to buildings. When the beam can no longer hold its weight, it goes to the next beam. And then so on, and then just implosion because it's not built to do that. You're not built to handle everybody else's lack of integrity. Here's an interesting thought. Lily, when I say integrity, is it a universal expectation? Meaning, does everyone expect everyone to act with integrity? What do you think?
I do think it's a universal expectation, because I think it's something that naturally we hope for in others, but I don't think it's something we get universally.
Now, why would you say that? It's not something we get. Is this something that you have perhaps experienced and been hurt by some people? Or is it that you really think that there are people that just have no integrity and it must be taught to them?
Oh, that's hard. I think that's hard because people do hurt people, right? It's inevitable. We live in a fallen world where there is sin in the world, which means we miss the mark. We aren't perfect. So we hurt people. And I think it's easy to blur those lines with, oh, well, they hurt me. They're not a person of integrity. But I think that that's different. I think it's what you're willing to get away with. And honestly, that does exist. There are people out there. I mean, we can put a mirror to our lives and think, what boundaries do we cross that we're just like, oh, it's not a big deal, or oh, it's just a white lie. I think it's more common than we realize. So
I know this is really tough to answer some of these things, and that's why we're going to spend a few weeks talking about it, because again, we learned something doing the 24-hour challenge, the race that we were doing. Like, you're constantly bombarded with a moment, a chance to trump integrity, to not do the right thing. Even down to when we're asking about character integrity, when we're all like, I think it's like you can't have one without the other, and it's a tough thing. I like what Amy Veal writes in there. She's like, I think this is one who you are when no one's, and then this is what you do. It's like, even to answer those two questions already sets up a tension. And anytime there's tension, we need to pay attention, because Jesus always speaks inside the tension. So if you're feeling something on this, and there's a tension kind of, I don't know, then you need to stay in the moment and maybe log back in next week to get more parts of this thought as we unpack it. I wrote this in my notes. Integrity, it is a universal expectation. I know I asked, do you think it is? It is a universal expectation. But what happens is we get hurt by people, and then we begin to say those kind of people do this. I once was cheated by this kind of person. This person just wants to get to the top, and they don't care how they do it. And we speak as if that is true of everyone. And it's just out of experience, we begin to try to protect ourselves because we don't want to get hurt. And that's not how Jesus behaved. When Jesus selected his 12 apostles that we read about in the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we don't read where Jesus goes, okay, I know Peter, you're going to be an idiot. And so I know you're going to deny me 3 times right before I die on a cross. So I ain't picking you, because your integrity, when challenged, you're going to suck at keeping it, so you're out. Or Judas, I know you're going to sell me for some money. You're out, right? Jesus didn't do that. Jesus always assumes the best in us. And I think Jesus always functions inside. I can see where they might deny me 3 times, but I also think in those moments, Jesus is like, but on the other side, something sweet could come out of it. Or maybe Jesus like, maybe I can change it. Maybe they'll change through me. And I think that's an interesting thing, that Jesus always assumed the best in those he did life with. Yet we as followers of Jesus, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus and you're behaving, you want to be like Jesus, then you've got to, and this is going to be very difficult, you've got to begin to assume the best in every person, even if they've hurt you more than 3 times. And assuming the best in them is to not put yourself in hurt, a position of getting hurt. It's assuming that, man, Jesus can change them. And when Jesus changes them, I'm coming right in. And I'm not going to second guess it. I'm not going to go, but their past says they're going to do this. When Jesus is in the equation, people can change much quicker than on just their own. And so pay attention. You got people that have hurt you, assume the best in them. That Jesus still has plans for them, which he does. And Jesus wants the best for them. And you've got to be able to see it through that lens. See people how Jesus sees them. Not through the lens of I've been hurt and they don't have integrity. But I am getting ahead of myself. I wrote it like this. When I talk about integrity, is a universal expectation. We might look for loopholes, and we might make excuses when it comes to our personal decision. But here's what I know about you, because it's in me too. We expect integrity from the people closest to us and people around us. You and I expect it from our leaders, our preachers, our teachers, our spouse and employers. We expect integrity from the people around us, whether they're a person of integrity or not. The expectations, and I finished it, the expectations I have on everyone else is not the same I hold myself to. Whew, think about that one. You'll hear somebody talk about, I want to get in shape. And you've heard it like 900 years. You're like, they've been saying this forever. Look at them. They've put on weight. They're not losing weight. Yet you've said the same thing in a different group of people, and you're not holding yourself to the integrity. You're just not. It's just not the same. We judge other people on what people are doing, and we judge ourselves on the thoughts that we have. Meaning, at some point, I'm going to get in shape. At least I have good intentions, so I'm good at what I'm. We don't look at our actions. Integrity assumes an ought to. We rarely appeal to that we assume everybody around us is accountable to. Let me read that one more time because I just, yes, this is true. Integrity assumes an ought to. We rarely appeal to that we assume everybody around us is accountable to. I just did a wedding yesterday about 3.5 hours north from here. And they had great vows. We did marriage counseling. And never did we sit down and talk about, okay, tell me, bride, what do you define as a lie? Or groom, what do you think it looks like for you if somebody's gonna cheat? Like, what does it look like on this? Because why did we not sit down and start negotiating those little details inside a marriage contract?
I can answer.
Yes.
Because a lie is a lie, and cheating is cheating.
Yes.
There's no lines.
Right.
There's just not.
Because Lily, you say that lie is a lie and cheating's cheating because that's what we were just saying. Integrity assumes an ought to that everyone should appeal to, but we rarely are accountable to. But we assume you already know, like Lil, I didn't go, Lily, you know what lying is, or Lily, you know what safety is as you handle young people, right? We didn't talk about those things because it's an ought to. It's like it's an all play for everyone. Everyone knows what they ought to do. We don't break it down that way. We don't sit there. Yesterday, I didn't say, okay, today you're both in marriage going to say, I do, and you're going to make vows to a promise that you're going to do something. There isn't a discussion of, like, you understand in 20 years from now, you're not going to be able to come back and go, oh, yeah. At that moment, I really meant it, but now, because that's what happens. Marriages get 10 years down the road, and they're like, I'm out. A husband comes to their wife, or the wife to the husband, and says, I'm out. I just don't feel it anymore. It's a lot more work, the debt, the children. I'm just out. And the other one's going, wait, but you promised. You said you loved me to death, do us part. And I've heard it so many times. The other individual goes, oh, I meant it in that moment. Right then I did. But now life's changed. And I'm not going to behave in integrity. I'm not going to do what I ought to do right now, which is upholding my commitments and upholding my promises. And I'm not going to do what I ought to right now. I'm going to do what feels right, what will just make me happy. And that, I think, is the great enemy of integrity, is I want to do what makes me happy. We're on a happy quest in this world. And the problem with being on a happy quest is that our happiness sometimes gets confronted with our integrity. And then we have to decide, am I going to do the right thing, even though it might cost me? Or am I going to do happiness, and it might cost me? But that payment seems like way down the road. Integrity payment is like right now. Like, I'm going to miss out on this opportunity if I don't lie about the numbers at work. I'm going to make it up so I get the promotion. And then I can sort it out. You ever think about that? A liar keeps telling lies so they don't become thought of as a liar. They just tell another lie. I don't want you to think I'm a liar. And so I'm going to lie again so I can convince you that I'm not a liar, but you're doing what... I hope this is making sense to you. My question is, why is it, like I said this, and I was just saying it, why when we are caught in a lie, we tell another lie so people don't think of us as a liar? Why do we do that? There is an ought to that stands outside of you and over you that didn't originate with you. That's the key here that I think we all would probably, if we were really being honest and we took ourselves out of the equation, this is the truth. There is an ought to that stands outside of you and over you that didn't originate with you or the other person. This isn't an ought to that is taught to you. Think about that one. Now, that could push some people. Wait. So you're telling me then, Scott, it's not all integrity is taught to you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I say that, what is it? Does that create a tension for you, or do you? I know you see my notes, but
No,
maybe you forgot
I'm
some
not
notes.
looking at your notes. I mean, it makes me, I'm trying to like think very largely here, and it probably is not the right thing. But like, then if it came before us, like it already existed, then is it what God always intended? Is it the human goodness of people? I don't know. It's like, it feels like it's becoming this big thing. So I'm ready for like the punchline.
We're not getting there yet. So here we go. Continuing in this thought, okay? If there is no ought to then that stands outside of you and holds sway over you, integrity is merely a tool for you to use to get your way until it gets in your way. It's a tool of manipulation then. It's to make you appear better than you are, and I'll use it as long as it serves my purpose. But as soon as it doesn't, as soon as the value of integrity decreases, it's out. If I can't get my promotion that way, then I'm going to figure out a way. And that's what breaks all of our heart, is because we see it in so many other people, in politicians, in teachers, and CEOs, and in marriages, we can see a breach of integrity, and we're so quick to go, there it is. You didn't do what you ought to do in that moment, and so it got you. And you weren't behaving in the ought to's anymore. And I know I'm using the ought to's, and I use the word to do the noble thing, which is the right thing. Paul really talks about this really well. Really, what I'm trying to do is, Paul writes it in like 3 sentences, and since typically I talk for at least 25 minutes or so, I really had to get really wordy here, because if I just read what Paul said and said, all right, that's it, and let's go home, you guys all be disappointed. But we're going to read what Paul says on this, as some of the tech team looks at me, they're like, I don't know if I'd be disappointed. So when integrity is anchored to nothing more than courtesy, or do culture expectations, it's so fragile. It's just fragile if it's not anchored to something. Like, I enjoy fishing. And if I don't anchor my boat in high winds and storms to the right, if it's just to a sandy bottom, I am not held to anything. I am now at the mercy of the waves and the wind. I need my anchor to be on something substantial to hold the boat. What is your integrity anchored to? I'm going to be really I'm really in your face right now, okay? I'm not trying to offend you, but maybe if you find offense to it, it's really Jesus coming and trying to speak right to you. If you feel a stir in your stomach, your heart speeds up, you're like, I got to say this, jump in the chat and tell us. But also, that's probably Jesus speaking to you. What is Jesus saying to you on your integrity, and what are you going to do about it? This isn't about, oh yeah, my dad needs to hear this. He got an integrity problem. We're not talking about them, right? We're talking to you, and what is Jesus saying to you? Okay? When integrity is anchored to nothing more than courtesy or to culture expectation, it's so fragile. If your position in life is that there is this life, and that's it, when we die, it's over, then that's where you run into some problems, because your integrity is now merely just a tool. Because what is it anchored to? If you don't have your integrity anchored to the divine, then integrity is so fluid. Really, when I say that, if your integrity is not anchored to the divine, then your integrity is so fluid. What is that? Would you break that down? And those in the chat, what do you think we're trying to say here? If it's not anchored to the divine and it's anchored to something else, why would I say it's so fluid?
Because it's capable of change. It's like, well, my integrity means this one day, but this the next. And I like how you say, like, the courtesy or the cultural expectations, like, then your definition of integrity is all over the place. It's like different at home as it is at work, as it is out on the street. It's like, then it's fluid. It's like, it can be changed.
Right, and that's the issue, is if integrity is a moving target, and it changes by generation to generation, then what we cause this effect of a drifting from Jesus, a drifting from the divine. And that becomes problematic. It will be defined and redefined in personal and public opinion if it's not anchored to the divine, meaning every new leader will define what integrity looks like, or someone's opinion will change what integrity looks like. We see this everywhere right now. Someone's opinion impacts this, so now, we got to move what integrity looks like. We got to adjust because this is somebody's opinion. Right now, in the popular or pop culture, integrity is not anchored to divine. It is merely a tool of manipulation to get people on their side, to grab votes, not trying to get political, just being a truth teller, to grab votes and not anchored to the divine. If you don't find yourself asking what does Jesus have to say about it, well then, this is the result. If there is no ought to that stands outside of us and holds sway over us, integrity is reduced to a tool governments use or leaders use to get its way until it's in its way. I don't know if I'm making any sense to people, but the thought of integrity to me is more people need to function inside integrity. Determining what is at the bottom or the foundation of integrity. If there is an anchor at all, what it's built on has huge ramifications. What you're anchored to has ramifications because that tells you how to behave. Now, like I said earlier, author Paul really breaks this down because you're like, okay, so what are you saying? Does everyone know these ought tos? Do we need to type them up for everybody? Like, where are you headed here, Scott? Those that don't anchor it in the divine, what does that mean? Here's what it means in Paul's words in like a couple sentences. Romans chapter 2, verse 14. Paul's writing to a church that he started in the Roman Empire. And here's what he writes. And this is very interesting. I'll break it down to make sense to you. The Gentiles who do not have the law, since it was given only to the Jews, do instinctively the things the law requires, guided only by their conscience. They are a law to themselves. Though they do not have the law. Okay, so what does Paul just write there? Okay, let me break it down for you. Okay, you have two groups of people. The Jewish people who were once slaves to Egyptians came out of slavery, and now they begin to wander around to end up in the promised land. And as they are doing that, God chose this group of people that were coming out of slavery to begin his movement of salvation of the world. Through this group, the Jews. Through the leaders, God gave how to follow God, how to be led by God, because this group of people only knew how to be slaves. Someone told them, wake up, when to eat, when they could go to the bathroom. All these things were only told by their masters. They are a group of people who have never led themselves. So God comes in and says, I'm going to rescue this group. I'm going to become their king and lead them, and I'm going to teach them how to become followers of me. I'm going to teach them what integrity is. I'm going to show them these things, and he chose to do it in a thing that's called the law. Okay, that turns off so many people. It's like these laws. It's like, I got all these rules I got to follow. If you stick around long enough, you catch on that the law was the setup to Jesus. Jesus comes and sums up all the law and just says this: love God with all of your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. God, Jesus sums it all up right there. That's it. To love God, love your neighbor as yourself. To do what love requires. We say that so many times here. So Jesus sums up the law. Now, Paul comes onto the scene and starts to paint this picture. Okay, Jews then later have their Messiah, Jesus. Okay, that's where those Jews that believe that Jesus died and rose again became Christians. Jews today, they still are waiting for their Messiah. And so there's the separation. The Jews that believe Jesus is their Messiah became Christians. And then through the preaching of Peter and Paul, Gentiles or anybody that was not Jewish, began to find Jesus. But they didn't have the law. They weren't reading the law. They weren't reading the Old Testament, the Ten Commandments. Yet they were behaving in a manner like they did. Okay, so they're behaving in something that was never taught to them, They weren't schooled like the young Jewish boys and girls were, where they memorized the Old Testament. These Gentiles are doing what they ought to do without being schooled. So Paul's writing, okay, with that information, let me read this again. When the Gentiles, in Romans chapter 2, when the Gentiles who do not have the law, do instinctively the things the law requires, they are a law to themselves, though they do not have the law. They are doing the ought tos that they know to do without somebody teaching them to do. Romans chapter 2, verse 15, Paul continues. They show that the essential requirements of the laws are written in their hearts, in their conscience, bearing witness to and their thoughts, alternately accusing or perhaps defending them. This is Paul saying, listen, they got the ought tos. They got what it was to do, or how to function as a follower of Jesus. It was inside them. It's attached to the divine. It's attached to answering the question, what does love require me to do? And if you answer that without justifying some cheeky move, some backstabbing, like that's not what love requires you to do. Love slows down. Love does not make other people speed up. Love is a race to be set. You hear it all the time, I know, like a lot of you hear, but that's what, so when we function outside of love, our integrity is now only being used for whatever we want it to be. The moment we attempt to justify a behavior in our minds, we acknowledge that the law of God written in our heart. So, it's this. Okay, I know this is considered stealing when I take a pen from the office, but they owe it to me. Like, it's not really stealing because I worked some overtime and I'm pretty sure they didn't pay me. And so I'm just going to take this because they owe it to me. You've just justified a breach in your integrity because you stole when you knew you shouldn't have taken it. Or some of you know that you shouldn't be shopping on Amazon on office time, but you do it because you're like, well, I work a lot anyways. I check my email at home. That is a breach of integrity. Like, when you justify what you're doing, it's a breach of integrity. The moment you attempt to justify what you're doing, you actually give credit that there is an ought to that's outside of you. Here's the truth to everyone as we begin to wrap this thing up. Everyone should consider following Jesus because Jesus came to this planet, this earth, and he ignited and he launched the rule and the kingdom of God on this earth. And he placed his law in our hearts. The ought tos. You know, with 8 kids, you kind of begin to realize that there are things that I've not taught my kids that they've just picked up that it's just in them. It's when they know they've done something that was a breach of integrity, they hide. And they hide the stuff. No one taught them to do those things. They just know that they behaved in the opposite of integrity. I remember Epic, who got one of my knives that I put on my dresser, and it's out of reach, but one morning, he got up early. This was when he was a little boy. And he moved a box over to climb up, got the knife out, was playing with the knife, and it cut him just a little bit, nothing severe. But he's like, oh no, I can't hide this. So he takes my knife, puts it under the bed, wipes all the blood off as much as he can and puts that all under bed. We're talking like he's 3 years old. No one's teaching him to hide this stuff. No one's telling him that it was a breach of integrity. I don't remember sitting down going, hey, you shouldn't play with the knife. It was just, he inherently knew he did something wrong. And he began to hide it. Because why? Because God had already wrote on his heart the difference between right and wrong. I didn't have to teach that to them. And when they got it wrong, they always tried to hide the results when they knew they were in a breach of integrity. They begin to, or maybe you've begun to, justify why you look at the opposite sex in the way you do when you're married or when you're single. You justify it. Well, you know what? I'm single right now, so I got nobody, so it's okay. Justification. Or, man, my spouse isn't there for me right now. They just don't like me touching it, so I deserve it. We begin to justify things at work. When you do the right things, You have intersected with the divine. You have an intersection with the divine because you obey the law of God written on your heart. You have participated in it. In what? The kingdom of God. And Jesus says in Mark chapter 12, and you're not too far from it. What's Jesus saying here that Mark records here? You're not too far from it. The kingdom of heaven on earth. When we act with integrity, we're not too far from the kingdom. You want to give credit to Jesus? You want people to see Jesus through you? Then you behave in integrity when it costs you, or if you're going to benefit from it. I wrote it like this, and let's wrap this up. When integrity is anchored to something beyond our fluid opinions, and it's anchored to something beyond anyone's fluid opinions or major opinions, it's informed by our value system that stands outside of us, that stands over us and puts pressure on us. It represents what's best of us, and it represents what's best of the people around us. And the reason you know what's best for you is because when someone treats you the way you ought not to be treated, you appeal to the law of God in your heart. And you appeal to the law of God that you hope is in their hearts as well. What I'm saying there is that when you're mistreated, you start going, that's not how someone should treat another person. You're appealing to the law of God that's written on your heart, even if you're not a follower of Jesus. Because integrity is a divine thing. And it's stitched into your DNA. And so many people have ignored it. When you do what's right, and it costs you, you declare the rule of God over you. I like that one. When you do what's right, and it costs you, you declare the rule of God over you. That one just makes me go, I always want to do the right thing. Like, that gets me excited. See, the thing with integrity that I know about you and me is that we expect it, we celebrate it, and we can't escape it. So over the next few weeks, we're going to answer these questions. Like today was the setup of a big idea. How do you get it back? How do you get integrity back? How do you guard it? How do you model it for your kids or yourself? That's what we're going to do over the next few weeks. We're going to talk about integrity, and we're going to use illustrations of men and women that have done it well and haven't done it well, and so that we can do better with our integrity. Let's pray really quick. Jesus, I hope this hits home with so many people, that it makes sense, that wheels are turning, that people are looking at their moments in their life of, where's there a breach in my integrity in my life? That they would look through the lens of the ought tos. I know what I ought to do. And even when it costs them, that they would continue to do the right and noble thing. Jesus, I ask that this would reach to the ends of the earth, and that people would be inspired to take steps with you, Jesus. That we would begin to anchor our integrity to you, to the divine. And I thank you that you have written this on the hearts of everyone, that it's in our DNA somewhere in there. Jesus, may we unlock it today. In your name, amen. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with us. Lily is going to do our giving for us, and then we will be wrapping up today. Lil,
that was great. I'm just now thinking of all the things that I just sneak my way through when I'm not supposed to. So not all the things. It's not that many things, but we all have something we could think about with this. So it was good. We just want to give you guys a chance to give. We're super grateful to be able to be here every week, putting out content on the One Wheel channel and here as well. We do a lot on here. Every Wednesday night, we're live with our young people, middle school and high school. So we just want to thank you guys. For those of you who have given, it helps us continue to do this. So thank you. And we're dreaming for the future as well. If you would like to give, you can text the word unlock to 77977. Or you can go to our website, unlockchurch.com/give. And it's not just so that we can do a lot with your resources. However, we will ask God for wisdom on what to do with it. We are trying to be obedient to what God asks of us in his word through and about giving. So if you want to hear more about that, go ahead and Google what does the Bible say about giving, because there's a lot in there. And it's just something we get to be obedient to from him. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next week for service again.
Yeah, thank you, Lil, and thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart as well for those that give. You are helping make a difference in the world, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next week with the fourth part of our one-wheel race in the 24-hour challenge. Let's see if we get to any lakes next week. Actually, we're already at Lake Erie, so you know we're going to do something there. But we'll be back with that, and we're going to pick up on the integrity conversation next week. It's going to be a good one. I can't wait for you to hear what's in store about integrity. Guys, have a great Sunday. May the Vikings win. Bye now.